What 94% of burglaries have in common is the fact that they only had the front door visible from the street. All other points of entry, like back doors and windows, were obscured by things like bushes or solid wood fences. We even have the confession of a burglar to confirm this. He said that most of his burglaries happened in fenced properties because the neighbors wouldn't be able to see him. You don't want to have any area outside that a burglar could hide in. Privacy fencing and overgrown trees or shrubs will be a serious problem. Other kinds of fencing that you can easily see through is much better. I'd recommend getting a fence made out of wrought iron, chain link, or steel bars. If you don't have a fence with no trespassing signs, there isn't much that's keeping the burglars from casually walking up to your door, knocking on it, and looking inside your home. These are some more things that have been proven effective in deterring burglars. For example, having a car in your driveway, an alarm system, or security cameras. Having noise inside your house is particularly effective as well. This is why I'd recommend you use timers to turn on recordings of people having a conversation, as well as your TV and your radio. You should set these timers to come on at different times of the day and locate them in different places of your house. Burglars thought about the things on these charts when planning or executing a burglary. In general, the higher the percentage of burglars that considered a specific deterrent, the more effective that deterrent was. However, just because they considered the fact that there are people walking nearby, for example, does not mean that they won't come back later when there is no one around. Obviously, burglars don't just look at the deterrents you have. They also look for the things that make you a good target, like a mailbox full of mail or newspapers piled up in your driveway. Visible security cameras, vehicles in the driveway, and lights on inside the home, as well as leaving your TV or radio on, are all effective deterrents according to burglars. Obviously, stricter sentences for burglary will also mean less burglary. It's important to mention the things that aren't very effective as well. Home security signs won't stop most burglars, just some of them. This is because many people will buy just the sign and not the actual home security system. In general, dogs will not stop the majority of burglars. Many dogs are missing the required temperament, size, or understanding that the burglar is a threat for such a task. If you have the right dog, though, I'm sure it will keep out the vast majority of burglars. On sort of a side note, I was surprised by the amount of burglars that didn't knock to make sure that no one was home. This could mean that they used some other way to find out if you're home, or it could mean that they don't care whether you're home or not. Outdoor dusk-to-dawn lights are not that effective at stopping burglars. Marcus Felston, an expert in criminal justice, says that motion-activated lights are the best. If you have outdoor lights of any kind, you want to make sure that they are high enough off of the ground so that burglars can't unscrew the light bulbs. Having lights on inside the house is noticeably better than outdoor lights, but they're still less effective than a visible security sign. It's obvious that good physical security, like deadbolts with 3-inch screws, can sometimes be even more important than an alarm system or security cameras. This is for a few reasons. First of all, burglars can and do cut telephone wires and alarm wires. Side note, this is why you should have a charged cell phone in case you are home when someone breaks in. As for security cameras, they rely on the criminal being stupid enough not to disguise himself or to wear a mask. Finally, in certain areas of our country, the law enforcement and legal system has been overwhelmed or degraded enough that criminals become confident that they won't get caught or prosecuted for burglary. Burglars know that with slow police response times, they can be in and out of your house before the police get there. In some cases, with the right underworld ties, they can even sell your items before they are reported missing. For a point of reference, many burglaries take place in under 10 minutes, and if you have multiple burglars working together, it'll be done in even less time. Inevitably, the question gets asked, where and how do burglars get in? First of all, these statistics have been misquoted to justify the discredited theory that since most burglaries involved unlocked doors or windows, having glass doors doesn't actually increase the chances of burglary. When you look at this study or the FBI's crime statistics, it's very clear that burglars forcibly break into most homes. Front doors, windows, and back doors are all easily accessible since they are on the first floor. Therefore, they are usually the easiest way to get inside. These statistics tell us that 65% of the time, burglars entered from the side or from the back of the house. We can also learn that when burglars have defeated locked doors, 87% of the time, this was because they chose the door that didn't have a deadbolt. However, just because statistics say that most burglars enter from the first floor, does not mean that they won't enter through a particularly vulnerable window on your second floor or in your basement. If you take a little time to walk around the outside of your house, you can easily find the most vulnerable places that a burglar would likely enter, and then you can increase your security accordingly. I'd like to mention a few things about alarm systems. First of all, you'll see that many websites are stating that if you have an alarm system, you are 300% less likely to be burglarized. When you look at the study that this statistic has come from, you realize that important nuance and accuracy has been left out. In reality, the study says that the effectiveness of alarms increases with the cost of the homes they protect. So a house worth over $100,000 is 3.12 times less likely to be burglarized if it has an alarm. The reason why this is happening is probably because the people with more expensive houses are more likely to take more precautions and invest more into security. Alarms don't automatically become more effective at scaring burglars away when the price of your home rises. So we can't honestly say it's just the alarm reducing the chance of burglary by 3.12 times. Alarms in general are definitely and provably effective. Most burglars avoid houses with alarms, and many burglars won't even try to disarm an alarm if it goes off. I have 2 studies here in which burglars admit that alarms are in fact effective. However, burglars seem to do poorly at making good decisions. An example of this is the fact that only half of burglars would stop their looting if they thought there was a good chance that they would get seen and caught. Only 12% of burglars typically plan their burglary, which implies that burglars may be impulsive, opportunistic, or both. Some of this behavior can be explained by the fact that many burglars have a chemical dependency. In many cases, they're looking for drugs or for money that they'll use to buy drugs. Certain drugs make the user highly irrational, resistant to pain, and can give the user seemingly inhuman strength. This is a good time to mention how dangerous it is to be present during a burglary. The following statistics, including the ones on the screen, are all from the same source. On average, there are well over 200,000 violent burglaries that happen each year. In 30.1% of all burglaries, the burglar or burglars are armed with a weapon. In 65% of all violent burglaries, the burglar is known by the victim. Those cases could be perpetrated by an estranged family member or friend of a friend, for example. When household members are present during a burglary, they are asleep 38% of the time. This is a serious problem because burglars tend to go straight to the master bedroom to look for valuables. I'm going to show you a couple pages of general advice. I won't go over everything on these lists because people may already know these things and will get bored. There are 2 things that I want to stress here. The first is that you shouldn't have a window-mounted AC unit. Unless you have steel bars protecting the AC unit, it's very easy to knock it out and enter through the open window. Second of all, you shouldn't keep your valuables where they are easily accessible in the closet or in the dresser of the master bedroom. This is because burglars look in these places first. It would be much better to keep them in an unexpected place that is harder to access, like the dusty cardboard box labeled Christmas lights that you keep in your attic or crawl space. Generally, burglars want to be in and out of your house quickly. They don't have all day to search your entire house and will take what they immediately find. As for the second page, I have 2 more points. First of all, many people like to suggest planting prickly bushes under your windows to make it harder for burglars to get in. In my opinion, this is a very minor deterrent. They are much more likely to get cut badly from the glass of the window they have broken than from whatever you have planted under the window. Second of all, burglars may take any drugs they find. This is why if you have life-saving heart pills, you shouldn't keep them where they are easily found in the bathroom. Hide them where they won't be expected, but you can still access them quickly. Given how important physical security is, I'd like to mention the specifics of securing your doors. First of all, many homes have windows either near the front door or on the front door itself. This is an obvious problem because burglars can break the glass, reach in, and unlock the door. The commonly stated solution to this problem is to use the double-cylinder deadbolt. For those of you who do not know, this is a lock that requires you to unlock it with the key from the inside when you want to go out. However, if the window in your door is large enough for someone to climb through, the solution is to either replace the door with one that doesn't have windows or to put bars over the window. Sliding patio doors are extremely vulnerable, by the way. Their locks are easily pried open, for example. The glass is usually safety glass, so the burglar likely can just break it and walk through without worrying too much about being badly cut. There are many people who rely on something like a broom handle or a 2x4 to brace their patio door shut. However, this has been proven to not be very effective, as patio doors can be pried up and out of their tracks. If you're intent on keeping your patio doors, I'd suggest screwing a piece of metal or a washer into the side of the door near the top, so that it will hit the top of the track if pried upwards. As for the lock itself getting pried open, there are multiple ways to solve this problem. One of the ways is to get a pin lock that holds the door and the track together. Loop-style locks, or the 2x4 brace method, as mentioned before, also work. For any regular exterior doors, you want to have a longer strike plate for your deadbolt. Longer strike plates that have 6 or 9 holes for screws are considerably stronger. You also want to make sure that you use 3-inch screws in both the strike plates and in the door's hinges, as many short screws are not long enough to reach into the actual frame of the door. The latch on your locking doorknob offers relatively little protection, and I would not worry about getting a new strike plate for it. Most deadbolts can be bumped quickly and easily. Thankfully, few burglars tend to use methods like lockpicking or bump keys, but the availability and ease of bump keys makes me suggest you get a lock impervious to such attacks. You have 2 basic options to solve this problem. You can get a high security deadbolt like a Medico Maxim, for example. These are a little on the expensive side at around $150. You could also get a much cheaper lock that only locks from the inside and therefore offers you protection from home invaders when you are at home. Examples of these locks are the Schlage B81 one-sided deadbolt and the Everbuilt 8-inch barrel bolt with the strike plate. The barrel bolt is obviously easier to install, but the deadbolt is probably stronger. It's worth mentioning that if you have only one high security deadbolt, you can protect your belongings when you are away. This is because you can lock any other doors you have with one-sided deadbolts. By the way, a $150 deadbolt is a lot less expensive than the average burglary, which is usually over $2,000. It would also be a good idea to have a door guard, which is a metal box that reinforces the door near the deadbolt. Obviously, you still want to see who's at your door before you open it, so if you don't have a security camera for that, you should get a peephole or a wide-angle door viewer. Also, those door chains that let you open up the door a few inches to talk to whoever is at the door, those chains can be easily broken with a kick, because neither the chain or the screws are very strong. Finally, if one of your exterior doors needs upgrading, I'd suggest replacing it with a good steel door with a steel frame. The most common way to prevent entry through your windows is with steel bars. There are more expensive and less obtrusive ways to do this though. Sheets of plexiglass, for example. There is also a company called Mesh Tech that makes windows that are covered with a tightly woven steel mesh. The mesh looks very much like a regular insect screen, but stops blunt force attacks. This will stop most burglars. However, a very determined burglar that has the right tools will probably get through. You could also use security film. This is a transparent adhesive film that is installed on the inside of the window and is intended to increase the amount of time it takes to break the window. It does achieve this goal, but in many cases, the window can still be breached and entered in under a minute. This is why I generally suggest using window bars instead. I'm sure someone will mention how dangerous it is to have bars over your windows because they may trap you inside during a house fire. This is why I feel obligated to show these statistics and mention the fact that you can buy quick-release window bars. The amount of people trapped inside burning houses with burglar bars is small compared to the amount of people who are killed during violent burglaries or robberies. Compared to the amount of civilians who die in fires, vastly more people are murdered each year. Obviously, you should not violate any fire codes, but you should also keep in mind what the greater danger is. I mentioned the effectiveness of alarm systems and security cameras before, but I didn't speak much about any details. First of all, many police departments treat burglar alarm calls as low priority. This is because they are mostly false alarms. This obviously means that it may take a significant time for the police to get there. Some police departments, like the LAPD, will not respond to an alarm unless a person verifies it's a real break-in. This is an obvious problem because alarms can only prevent crime if the burglar absolutely knows he won't get away before the police get there. You want to make sure to have a siren on the outside of your house as well. Even if the burglars cut the wires that would contact the police, your neighbors will still hear the alarm going off. It's better to have your security system keypad and alarm box installed where they can't be seen from the outside. Likewise, you want to have a generic home security sign, as a sign from your specific alarm company is knowledge that can aid the burglar in disabling your system. If you don't have bars over your windows, or if you have a glass patio door, glass break sensors are a necessity. They trigger at the sound of breaking glass, and they have a large working radius of usually 20 to 25 feet, so you may be able to use one for each room. If you're thinking about getting security cameras, you want to have at least one camera at eye level on or near your front door. All other cameras, like the one watching your driveway, should be placed 8 to 10 feet above ground level so burglars can't reach them. Cameras are usually placed on the corners of the house, under the eaves to protect them from the weather, for a wider field of view. Make sure to not install cameras where the sun will reflect into them as well. DIY self-monitored camera/alarm systems are less expensive because they don't have installation or monthly fees. They usually use Wi-Fi and may have a cell phone backup in case the Wi-Fi cuts out. Generally, the way DIY systems work is you get a notification on your phone if a sensor is tripped. Then you call the police if it's an actual burglary. Wireless systems can be better because it's relatively easy to cut a wire. Blocking/hacking Wi-Fi requires more expertise. Remember though, landline and internet cables can be easily cut. If you have a monitored alarm system, generally someone from the alarm company will call and notify you that the alarm has gone off. If you don't respond and say that it's a false alarm, the alarm company will then contact the police. Obviously, better camera resolution means there is a greater chance you can positively identify the burglar. So 1080p or greater is good. If you have a garage, you'll want to make sure it's secure as well. Burglars can use a wire to yank on the emergency release of your garage door opener. You can prevent this by zip tying the emergency release lever to your garage door bracket. You can also keep your car keys on your nightstand in case you need to drive yourself to the hospital after a violent home invasion. It also gives you the option of being able to trigger the car alarm, which might scare some burglars away. For extra security, install sliding locks onto the garage door. They work by locking into the garage door rail, and they can only be operated from inside. If you have a manually operated garage door, I'd suggest not using the cheap T-handle style of locks. They offer little protection compared to a door anchor lock, also called a roller door lock, that screws directly into the concrete garage floor and is locked with a padlock. You could also install a motion sensing light socket in your garage and a peephole in the door leading to your garage. This can let you easily see if a burglar has broken in. Many gates and shed doors are not intended to be used with a standard deadbolt lock. Sometimes this requires you to use a hasp and padlock. You want to make sure that the padlock you use is shrouded. This makes it harder for it to be cut with bolt cutters. Thanks for watching, and if you thought this video was good, please like and subscribe.